Hi, everyone. Welcome to the panel discussion, AI-led business strategies. This is going to be part of the CIO 1000 APAC 2021 event. Pretty interesting discussion. I'm kind of looking forward to having with such an esteemed panel that we have here. When we look at AI or when we talk about AI, there is tons of discussion that happens or tons of news that happens in the industry. But I think as this group, we wanted to put a framework around why AI is important, or how does it directly impact the digital transformation, or how does it at the end of the day impact the business strategy. So that's what this discussion is all about. And let me quickly go ahead and get started with Manoj Pradhan. Manoj, if you would love to answer this question on why AI in business strategy.
Thanks, Manoj. I think it's a wonderful question to kickstart. All of us, we work for successful companies today, great products, services which we sell in the market, and in return we make profit, right? And some of the companies are market leader, co-leader, and the followers in the industry. When I meet actually CXOs, I always ask one question: will your company exist? Will your company survive after 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, or 10 years down the line? Okay. And if the answer is yes, okay, I ask, think again, right? Double click on why you said yes. If you look at, by and large, all successful companies today are primarily focused on efficiencies. They have comprehensive processes, well-defined metrics, very reliable technologies, and of course, run by great people. When we see any KPIs performing in the business above the threshold, it brings us big smile, right? Remember, these are the short-term happiness. But if you want to see your company successful tomorrow and the years ahead, we have to focus on effectiveness, right? Find the purpose of the business in every role by every employee, please, and look for the opportunity to maximize that business value, okay? And our brains are habituated in such a way that it always towards the act of efficiency. And now shifting the focus from efficiency to effectiveness is really, really challenging, right? One brain, we have limited thoughts and all of that, but this can be achieved with superpower, right? Which we call as AI. And in this fast evolving business environment, I think AI needs to be paired with ability to make more frequent, more responsive, and more accurate business decision. AI should be used as a driver for the digital transformation to make the future, right? So sure. I think actually I answered your question well, Manoj.
Sure. Thanks, Manoj, for that insight. The AI, should be driving business transformation. Thank you. That helps. I'm going to jump quickly into my next question. And Vinod, who's the Chief Information Officer at Vistara Airlines. Vinod, how is AI accelerating digital transformation?
Okay, thank you, Manoj, for having me. Again, it is a privilege to be among these esteemed panelists. See, if I take the discussion further, what Manoj said, and try to dissect it, AI is obviously a term, a strategy, which is more linked with the business strategy. It is not a technology. I think I want to first demystify that myth that a lot of people. So you have to first see that how AI is going to help your business KPIs. That is the, I would say 10,000 feet statement. But when you drill down that further, that what divisions are we talking about? What departments are we talking about? What businesses are we talking about? And what KPIs are we talking about? I think it has to be drilled down to the next level. So once you look at it, because AI cannot be applicable everywhere. Yes, AI has its multiple facets. AI can be used very well through automation. You can actually do a lot of things. AI can be used to launch your new product services. AI can be used to, because that will help you to identify the opportunities, or it can help you to improve your existing product or services. But the fundamental question of AI is the data, because AI without data has no meaning, and right data. So I think the fundamental pillar or the cornerstone of digital transformation for AI is data. Right data, right set of data for the right business processes, and which is going to be potential candidate for the impact. So business impact is very important. If you are not able to show the business impact, you are not going to get approval for the AI project in your boardroom. That's not going to happen. So you need to be very conscious of the fact that when you identify processes or the projects, you need to articulate very well that how it is going to change my business. When I say change the business, it may be making it more efficient. It may be more helping in the decisioning of the business, whether it is a planning side, sales side, marketing side, or helping you to get into new territories altogether, which was not there at all. So when you look at, so data is fundamental, very important. Then obviously the algorithm which you want to build on top of it. So you want to build an algorithm which is available in the market, or you want to build an algorithm which is proprietary to you. And then you need to really see that how to protect my IPR, how to file the patent so that nobody gets into it. I think that will vary from organization to organization. And third thing, which probably I will want to put on the table is AI strategy is a horizontal. AI strategy is not a vertical. It is a horizontal which actually is applicable across. But will it be a stepwise process? Answer is yes. You can't rock the boat and say that now AI has arrived, let us do it. So you have to identify which are those pilot divisions, pilot processes, but set up the full infrastructure. If needed, you need to probably set up a center of excellence. You need to set up a dedicated team, which is the right combination of business and technology people. It's like setting up your agile. When people were moving from conventional waterfall to agile, there are a lot of roadblocks. A lot of thinking was to be changed, because people never were used to have 3 weeks of sprint, 2 weeks of sprint. That was not possible earlier. But now through this, there is a similar concept here also, that where you need to set up a different team thinking from the organization perspective, which will help whole organization. So I'll take a pause here, Manoj. That's how the digital transformation will help.
No, very, very insightful. And thank you for this. Obviously, KPI is the right thing to do. And then, you bringing in the perspective of, how organizations move from waterfall to agile, very relevant. Thank you so much. That helps. Umesh, I'm going to jump to you, if you will. So Umesh is a senior director IT systems. With Synchron, how do you pronounce it, Umesh? I think I'm
Synchron.
Synchron. All right. So while we've had insights into kind of the benefits, if you will, or why we should be doing it, I want to ask you a question around what do you think are the challenges in implementing AI?
Well, thank you, Manoj. Thank you for having me on this call with the esteemed panelists. First of all, let me introduce myself. I take care of Umesh Mathur, take care of IT systems and information security for Synchron. And Synchron is a leading digital transformation consulting firm focused on financial services customers, right? So we are primarily, this topic is very apt to me because we are helping our clients to do their digital transformation in the financial services. Many of them are already at different stages of digital transformation. We help them accelerate their journeys. And the COVID situation has just made that possible. Primarily, everybody is now at different stages of digital transformation. So for AI we use extensively along with blockchain, along with other emerging technologies. Now, we use primarily 6 different technologies of AI, including natural language processing, NLP and NLG, right? Data science, robotic process automation, cognitive machine learning, and robo advisors. Some of these are the technologies that we use. in order to help our customers to accelerate their journey. Now, my role is managing internal IT systems, and we also help our customers. Our client-facing teams are actually working towards implementing AI for the business side. Now, there are several benefits that we see in using AI, right? So, for example, internally within IT, we have deployed AI-based chatbots for our global IT service desk operations. This has reduced significantly the turnaround time. Those routine queries, questions that probably can instantly be answered by a trained bot using AI, right? Those will help us reduce that unnecessary load on our service desk team, right? So, and at the same time, it gives a very quick turnaround time for the end users. They don't have to log a traditional ticket, wait for an engineer to be assigned and solve the problems. So we've seen about 15% reduction in our global IT service desk tickets just by using the chatbots, AI-based chatbot based on Azure platform that we use. These are mainly the Q&A kind of bots, right? So you train the AI bot with a set of questions, right? Machine learning primarily, and they will learn by themselves, and most repetitive questions can be answered. And the integration of these chatbots with our rest of the IT systems can give you live real-time data. For example, someone wants to know what their leave balance is, right? Somebody wants to know any other information that is there in the system without logging into the system, right? Just by chatting with the bot. We've also used AI for cybersecurity, which can drastically improve and ensure security in transactions can be taught on patterns of hackers usually use to create layered security at systems. There are a lot of hackers use these patterns, right? So we use the other way, which is use this AI-based security intelligence and threat detection prevention. So when you use this AI in the cybersecurity space, we have seen a lot of benefits with respect to reduction in the zero-day attacks by getting that intelligence, by querying different sources. So there are several benefits of using AI. And Manoj, you talked about what are the challenges with respect to deployment of the AI, right? So there are several challenges with respect to the deployment of AI. Now, first is there is the skilled manpower, skilled trained staff that you need to have in order to make sure that you can deploy, because these are emerging technologies. Although we have this in the form of an accelerator that we use, which are basically use cases, but it requires a lot of understanding of the technologies. You need to have the people who are trained. So there is the skill set that is required to implement it. There is a lot of unstructured data. When we talk about unstructured data, it is volume, velocity, and variety of the data, right? So mining of that data and getting some kind of intelligence requires high compute power. There are, you need to have a lot of compute power, algorithms to break some of these questions and derive at the efficiency. And then there is a problem with respect to the bias problem, what you call. Bias problem is primarily the nature of the AI system depends on the amount of the data it is trained on. Hence, the ability to gain good data is the solution to the good AI system. So these are some of the challenges that we think are today in implementing AI-based strategy. It could be a business strategy or AI-based solutions within the organization. These are some of the challenges.
Yep, Umesh, thank you. Very valid points. Bias is something that I think all of us, if you will, at some point in time, kind of either struggle with, and it's going to be our systems as well, which is going to be struggling with. So, very valid point. I'm going to, move on to Tushar. Tushar is the CDIO and CDO at Green Pharmaceuticals Services Limited. Tushar, a quick question, and this is going to be about, what are the 3 steps, in adopting a successful implementation of AI?
Thanks. Thank you so much. So thank you so much for making me a panelist with such an esteemed panel. So by the way, I come from a company called Origin Pharmaceutical.
Okay.
No problem. It happens for the first time. You and I had same problem. All right. So we are a group. We are from Dr. Reddy's group as a pharmaceutical company. We are the services wing of Dr. Reddy's. For the 3 steps perspective, just before we jump to that, I was actually part of one of these sections from McKinsey, and I could read that 72% of the organizations in the world do not know what to do with the data tsunami after digital transformation, right? And many of us are in the same boat as we speak today, right? So definitely a very interesting topic of how do we lay the foundation or the framework for business strategy, which is AI led, right? So I think it was very interesting the topic what we all are actually discussing about. I would actually take some inputs from how he has mentioned that the paradigm shift from a CEO has actually changed, that he doesn't want a digital team to be looked at as a cost center. He wants us to be looked as a profit center. And how do we do so? Yes, there are multiple opportunities, multiple ways of doing so. But AI to the next level, ML to the next level, DL is the way forward, is one of the greatest technologies and greatest application what we can actually use. So if you, coming back to your question, those 3 steps, what you had actually asked for. So I would actually brief it into 3 high level buckets. One is deriving or identifying the right use cases. Many a times it happens that we try to implement a technology where it is not really fitting it. So we need to identify the right use case where AI ML kind of a technology can be used. Next is defining the right architecture. In terms of architecture, now this is I'm talking about from the IT perspective, from the digital perspective. Where will you save your raw data? What will be your visualization layer? And what will be the next level of transformation? What you want to do with the data? How much data massaging you want to do, right? And the final one is to drive actionable insights, not just insights. We need to have actionable insights. And so the North Star for AI-led business strategy should be having prescriptive analytics, which can actually drive actionables and sometimes even take actions based on some rules, right? Also, just to add one more step, I would call it as step 0, is to start building a culture and to show the management and even all the CXO forums that, hey, look, this is the art of possible. Many a times we coming from traditional Indian setup, we have a baggage of old IT named as IT, where we are just supposed to fix computers and as a service, right? So the change in mindset is extremely important. I call it IQ to DQ, how you change the IT quotient to digital quotient, and then bring about the change by showing them the art of possible. That is step 0. I hope that answers.
Yeah, it does, Tushar. Thank you for helping us articulate this particular question. Rami, I'm going to kind of come to you for the next question. Obviously, Rami is the Chief Digital Officer, Spark Tech Solutions. Digital and Information Officer, Spark Tech Solutions. Rami, the question we would love for you to answer is, are there any elements of risk involved in AI implementation?
Thanks, Manoj, and I would like also to thank all the panelists for this useful inputs. Today, AI, it has a big trend in the market, and I find many summits, many occasions, many events, they are involving AI. Okay, today we have in region, we have the Dubai Expo, so AI is a big part section there also. What is the future of AI, the right best practice of AI, how AI involved in IoT, smart cities, and so on. As all of you know, AI is not born just today or yesterday. It's been since last centuries, from early 64. So, but it was in simple form. So by time AI is gradually develop itself, enhance itself, go more advanced as most the emerging technologies growing as well. So here, AI, as you know, we are dealing with a systematic and algorithms, okay, to build decision making, what should be doing next, and what is the proper prediction for any occasion. So here we need to be very careful, okay, because you are dealing with a system, not with a human sense, which react immediately from any occasion or any event. So here, AI, it should have a clear input, a clear source of information. I had an article last week, okay, about data as a new soil. Okay, so providing the right data, and you have a clear data, right source to the AI, then AI can be beneficial for you. Without that tool, without that source, AI is useless. So here, designing and implementing AI, we need to be very careful. We need to look to all risk aspects. What is the output from this build AI solution? So here I can categorize the risk here, that the accuracy of the data. How accurate is your data? You need to do a best practice in your data by training the data, give the right structure of your data, so AI can understand, and can the algorithm built on that one can give you the expected value. Also here, the format of your data. Today, you are not dealing only with the structured data from any database. Today, with the big data, with this open in the market, you are dealing with several formats. You can grab information from videos, from voice, pictures. Today, we have also deep fake technology. So how can you make that information from that one accurate? Also, AI used in security. Okay, so building the right analytics skills for AI to understand what type of threats it's dealing with, the breaches, and so on. So if it is not trained properly, so you are opening gap to your organization. Also, okay, you need to put, AI is not giving you the whole story. So once the AI, and I talk here particularly with machine learning, for example, okay, when you extract a dashboard, a report, analytic report, business intelligence, for example. So here, the decision maker or the stakeholder, they don't understand the technical skills. They need to see a business value, a business language. So here, the solution or AI product should give you the readful and build for you a story for your data. So you have analytic data, you have a report, but what is the story about this data? So we need to write a proper story so the decision making can build their strategy based on these inputs. You know, today we are open, okay, and especially with this pandemic, people are forced to work remotely, and collaborative tools are there in the place. So how you let AI support you in this one? When you are dealing with open marketplace, so the competitors are very high, so you need to have a right vision about the market, about the analytics you are getting from your data, how the data are feeding your system, and so on. So I will not make it long, okay, in risk, because it is wide range, okay, risk from all aspects you have to look. But we need to be very careful, because at the end you are dealing with a system, not with a human. So your system should understand what you are feeding it, what is the right way. You should give it, you should understand the algorithm before your system shall be understood. So building the right algorithm, what you are expecting to go, what you are expecting to reach. So built on that one, you have a value of your build solution. Thank you.
Sure, Rami, that definitely helps. Ishad, I'm going to come to you next, which is, can you tell us how artificial intelligence is delivering business impact? I guess the broader question is it improving customer satisfaction, revenue growth, productivity, efficiency, or cost, or others?
Sure. First and foremost, Manoj, thanks for inviting me to this important discussion with the esteemed panelist and asking such a relevant question. But before I get into it, let me take a step back and provide few insights of AI impact. Some of the research says that the value creation of artificial intelligence by 2030 would be in the range of around 13 trillion US dollar. And almost all industries will have AI use cases and they will have the positive business impact. Second, McKinsey report says that it will also have an impact on the job market. On one hand, it will end up creating a lot of jobs in the tune of around 800 million, and will also result in losing the same amount of jobs in the tune of 400 to 800 millions by 2030. And routine and repetitive jobs will have the largest impact. Coming back to the question, AI technology has definitely a potential to deliver business impacts on almost all the areas, be it like our other esteemed panelist members mentioned that people are using NLP technologies and which is actually helping them to increase the customer connect. Those essentially end up resulting into increasing customer satisfactions. Similarly, the other panelist also mentioned that implementing the data science initiatives with prescription analysis embedded with machine learning, these can also help providing actionable insights and suggest business to help them in taking decisions. These can result into increasing revenue and growth. The other important element which I would like to share with the example of my own firm, our own firm is improving productivity, efficiency, and saving cost. So in law firms, so I'm coming from India's largest law firm. Typically, lawyers spend a lot of time in working on all the documents. So firstly, what they do is they need to perform the due diligence on many cases that they receive, and that data sets is actually in the tune of gigabytes. And it is a time-consuming process. By using AI-based technologies, this type of due diligence process can be relatively done quickly, and it can save the time in the tune of around 60% of their time in performing due diligence work. The second use case that I see is, again, in our firm, before that document is created and, before the document has been sent to the customer, it needs to be finally validated to make sure that it is an error-free, it is proofreaded, and all of it. There are technologies available, again, AI-based technologies, which actually intelligently find issues in the document. And it also provides the recommendation, hey, look, these are the places in your document which are having the issues. So AI, and it end up saving around 60 to 70% of their time in doing these type of work. So AI is actually impacting as a whole, not into say our firm, but as I mentioned, like some of the research says that it'll have an impact to all the firms. So we truly see that today AI is really making a big change in almost all the industries, and it will continue to do the same thing. Thanks. I hope I was able to answer your question, Manoj.
Yep, thanks. Thanks, Rishad. Very useful insights that you provided. Thank you for that. Vinod, I'm going to come to you next, and if you can help us with what are the tangible benefits your organization has witnessed due to AI implementations.
Yeah, I think, Manoj, from implementation perspective, all of us spoke about that AI maturity is a journey. It is not a destination. I think all of us, it is a long-term plan. It is not going to happen in 6 months, project done and dusted. No, that's not true. The reason is because there is, I think people talked about data. So right data, correct data, quality data, integrated data, where you have got the siloed corrected within a business unit or across the organization. So that itself is a big task. Second is, what are the services which are going to build on top of data? Who are going to consume the data? What are the data governance rules? So, and the whole data strategy comes into the place. I think that is very important because you may do more harm to your organization by letting loose the data in the wrong hands. It's very important because you are at the end of the day responsible for the data which you are owning it. So it's very important to build the right governance, security, compliance as part of it. So from that perspective, the journey is that the use cases which are particularly applicable in our industries, for example, you can make the right decisions about a customer, because the customers are all across, right? They can enter the airlines industry from multiple channels, whether it is the web, it is a mobile, any channel. And the data may not be perfect. So how do you really identify those customers? How do you make sure that the customer is identified properly, customer is served properly, and with the right preferences, right loyalty program, right tier which the customer is in, and that kind of service. In other words, the customer experience doesn't go for a toss. So I think that is the first, I would say, use case which is relevant for our industry. Second is from the marketing perspective also, that how does the marketing use the data of the right customer data for the right offers, the right I would say solutions which are given to the customers, which may have 2-3 different I would say dimensions. One may be from the revenue perspective, the revenue can go up. Second may be again understanding customer concerns also, because the whole customer support phase of the life cycle of the customer is very important for us to really understand it, because that can only happen if AI can give you the the history about the customer on the fly for the call center agents, for the people who want to serve them. So it becomes very important that AI really connects the dots behind the scenes. Similarly, you have got safety use cases where actually before you can, a human can know about an issue which can become a potential safety issue for the aircraft. AI can help you in that. So in other words, you can be a lot more proactive than reactive. And your decisions can be a lot more based on the data. So some of the decisions can be purely data driven, some can be data influenced by the data. So I think those are some of the things. I would say the other use case which is important in our industry is the operation side of it, because many times you get the disruptions in the whole schedules, the changes. So how do you manage the communication part of it? How do you manage the rerouting part of it? How do you manage the making sure that the customer get updates? So these are area we have got, I would say, use cases there. Ranging from your engineering to flight operations to ground services to commercial to safety to anywhere. Even fuel management is a big area for us, which actually AI really helps to make sure that we use the right proposition of the fuel, because every optimization there really helps from the cost perspective. So these are some of the use cases which are helping much.
Sure, Vinod, thank you. And thank you for bringing up the kind of the operations part. I guess that was, while most of us articulated, a lot of other points, this was, I think, quite critical, Vinod. Because when we kind of look at implementations of AI, we look at, okay, what else could be done? But obviously the core bread and butter, if you will, of the business also kind of needs to be enabled. So thank you for bringing that up.
If I may share
Please.
some more use case.
Please, Umesh.
So over the past few years at Synchron, we have developed several what we call as accelerators. These accelerators are are developed in our what we call as Fin Labs. Since we work with the financial services customers, Fin Labs are areas like AI, data science, blockchain, wealth management, regulatory compliance, insure tech, and buy sign, and many more. Now, in these use cases, our AI-based accelerator programs are designed in such a way that they can make use of advanced statistical analysis and structured and unstructured data, right, in order to develop a real-time dashboard and powerful application. For example, we have developed something called as a Robo Advisor. The Robo Advisor is, it gives a wealth management customers and investment areas where they can invest to maximize their wealth, right? So this is again a AI-based accelerator program, and this brings our experience in mining the data that is being fed to derive at solutions. And similarly, credit risk predictive accelerator. Now, this will again, for if you are lending your money, right? What are the risks that are involved in the clients that are using this kind of services, right? So it allows credit providers to proactively identify unanticipated credit risks, right? So these are again some of the use cases in financial services. Also in the wealth management or in banking, for example, client onboarding using AI, right? You don't, the client onboarding is seamless. You just scan your documents through your mobile or tablet and using OCR and NLP, right? So the entire onboarding process is automated and there is no manual intervention required for anyone. So this helps in reducing the time required for onboarding clients, right?
Sure.
So these are some of the use cases which I thought are good
Quite relevant.
examples
Thank
in
you.
the financial services.
Sure. No, quite relevant, Umesh, and thank you for bringing it up. In the interest of time, we'll move to Irshad. I guess could you please tell us about what was your AI adoption framework?
Sure. Thanks for asking this question. Let me begin by saying that first and foremost, we need to be realistic about AI.
Mhm.
Many a times we think that AI can solve everything, which is actually not true. Or we get too much excited about implementing a new technology. We expect that there won't be any failures, or we expect that AI project will work for the very first time, which is not practically possible. There are a lot of hurdles that happens along the way. So my suggestions has always been that first and foremost, we should be clear about the business problem. What is the problem that we are trying to solve? List them down clearly, how and when each of them would be solved. Which problem can be solved by AI and which can't. I think that is also a very important element to list it down. And then list down the other elements like the time frame, resources, and the cost that it is going to take. Take the approval, and then you proceed ahead with the project. So I think that's the phase number one. The other part is that for AI project to be successful, we need to really look at the end objective. And we need to address each element of whether it is people, process, technology, and data. And each of these phases needs to be really monitored carefully. Say if the AI project is for 3 years and we completed one milestone in 6 months, list down what all learnings that we had, build onto that, and then move ahead on the subsequent phases to ensure that those kind of learnings can be implemented. Now, the real issue arises after AI project is implemented, and which is the adoption. So what happens is we have implemented the nice technology. What if people are not using it? So this also needs to be addressed very carefully as part of the overall AI adoption framework. Which means like we need to have a well-documented adoption plan that should have a crisp communication, providing the advantages, providing all the necessary trainings at each level in the firm. And we should define the adoption metrics. We should track them on a monthly basis, quarterly basis to make sure the technologies that we have implemented, how these have been used. What are the benefits that we wanted to get out of these technologies? Are they really giving to the company? Are we really achieving those benefits or not? So I think all in all of these components needs to be really taken well for a successful AI adoption to take place. Yeah, thanks, Manoj. I hope
Sure.
I could answer your query.
Yep, no, well articulated, Irshad. Thank
Thanks.
you. Thank you for that. Rami, I'm going to come to you next. And how does the future of AI look like? And then before you start, I'm going to open this up for the rest of the panel as well. If you could kind of share some light there, that would definitely help.
Thanks, Manoj. Yes, the future of AI. the dependencies on AI is exceeding day by day. We see today AI in all its elements, from machine learning and neural network, deep learning, based on the format of information, based on the business process itself, the model. We are building the AI. So AI, I believe, it will be replacing a lot of jobs. Okay, we can find many rules are replaced by AI, especially for business process which interact between several departments in automation. So today we see the RPA are in place. We see digital banks. So we are dealing with robotics here. You can open a complete account, bank account, dealing with robots. So it's replacing a lot of rules. It will take a lot of responsibilities. So AI will be mandatory in our lives. Okay, but here we should consider that a human should be more creative. Okay, instead of task-oriented. So I believe the world are going to change. Okay, you can find today you see self-drive cars in many cities. Okay, underground and so on. So here, while we are gradually growing with the demand on AI, we need also not ignore the human sense, because at the end we are dealing with customer satisfaction, not robotic satisfaction. Okay, so AI coming to help human. So I think and I believe the vision should be go in that direction, that we need to build such technology to make for better human. We are creating better human lives, not for robots. Okay, so this is what we need to consider in the future while we are dealing with AI. Today, AI are emerged with several technology in physics. I have a project several months ago about physics informed neural network, how we use machine learning in physics, also quantum machine learning. So other technology today are depending in AI because it's cutting a lot of efforts, can predict what should be next, predict about the next steps. So here AI will play a major role in our life in the future, and we need to take all the benefits of that one.
Okay, well, appreciate it, Rami. Thank you so much for helping kind of put a framework to it. Vinod, what's your take on future of AI look like?
Yeah, my take is, I know that other people are also to speak. My take is AI will not be a choice anymore. It will be the only way to do business. I think the earlier we understand this, the better it is. Technology will mature. It's about the thought process. It's about in which direction you think. It's about getting the house in order. In terms of data, in terms of business rules, in terms of competitiveness, in terms of operating model, everything. So I think it is the AI is, as I said in the beginning, AI is a business strategy. AI is not a technology. Technology will happen. But you need to do top down to bottom up. Top down is the sponsorship. Top down is the acceptance of this. AI as a lever. AI is a strategic lever. I think it will continue. It will continue, and you will see that the benefits will be enormous. You touch anything. Because today, if you see that there is not end-to-end visibility, particularly last 2 years, look at the data which has exploded everywhere. And now you need AI is the only technology available to you that if you have got the right, correct data, you can make inferences, you can draw analytics on top of it. And it is going to continue. We are going to be more and more digitized, more and more digital world, and more AI dependency. So future is AI itself.
Sure, Vinod, thank you. That helps. Manoj, what's your take on this? And then could you also talk a little bit about the risk involved in implementing AI, please?
Absolutely. And Manoj, like Vinod mentioned, I think AI is already actually impacted the industry, right? And many of the industries today, they are really successful. And if you would like to actually have the big impact, the larger impact of AI in the business, somebody need to remember actually the 3C equation, right? Consumer greater than customer greater than company. Traditionally, what has happened, any technology coming to the table, we all IT guys, we bring it to the company, we try to automate some of the processes and feel proud of it, right? But the true impact, the maximum benefit we could get it the moment we apply AI on the first C, which is anything and everything around consumer, right? And that will make the larger impact. And look at all the actually companies, today successful companies, AI has really impacted in a large, AI is really actually redefining the business model. It's redefining the products, redefining the go-to-market strategy and everything. So the future looks like is in any successful digital customers journey, if you apply, that will bring us a great success at shorter time, at less investment versus the value what we get out of it. And the second thing is, it's also the time has come for change of culture, right? Traditionally adopting a technology versus AI, it requires a fundamental shift in the mindset of innovation and transformation, continuously trying something with this new technology. Okay, try something, develop something, test with your actual consumers, see the feedback, again, continue that loop, right? So I think bringing that organizational change, being actually unlearn, relearn, and truly bringing the startup mindset with the AI, that will make a actually larger impact.
Perfect. We'll kind of wrap up the discussion here. Well, a lot of important discussions that we had. Obviously, everybody talked about data and KPIs and algorithms. Obviously, we touched upon the operation side of it. Bias being quite high as far as the way we are kind of setting it up. Obviously, we need the high computes of the world to kind of enable AI. Obviously, when I try to kind of summarize it, I think Vinod did put it in good words, and so did Rami and some of you saying, it's coming, it's here. As far as AI is concerned, so as a part of your strategy, I think organizations need to be start to think about how are we going to be all enabling AI within our organizations. Well, team, thank you so much for sparing your time. Really appreciate it. We're gonna call this a wrap, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.